Facebook is building our audience. We are so excited. It only took us 45 minutes to do this. So if you could follow us, follow me, and then I'll let Kristen introduce herself once Facebook gets our audience going here. Follow me on Bossed Up Academy on Facebook as well as Instagram, and follow me at Erica Homes LLC for all your real estate needs, whether you want to buy a house, sell a house, build a house, whatever you desire. That's all things real estate. So we are excited, and we've got some people on here. Hey, Robert, Kristen, if you would introduce yourself, and also good evening. Also, if you could tell how we are connected.
Okay. Let's see. You hear me?
Yeah. Kristen just went out for some reason. So we'll wait for her to log back on. But if you have any questions about real estate, please do feel free to drop your questions. And while we're waiting for Kristen to come back online, hey, she's back.
Okay. I am.
You could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Kristen Johnson. I am a real estate investor. Me and Erica, we are chapter star Xi Beta, Delta Smith Sorority Incorporated. I found Erica from my LS, Santana. She tagged me on one of your page, and she said, well, she's also in real estate and she's Xi Beta. I said, oh, somebody like-minded. So I decided to follow you, and ever since then, it's been up ever since.
Right. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your real estate group. And that was the reason that we decided to do this live tonight, all because of what you do every Thursday night at 9:00.
Yes. Well, for me personally, my group is more so like a guide, not really the all in all, but more like for newbies and any type of real estate investors who are experts who just wanted a space where they can just ask questions about anything that's dealing with real estate investing. So my Facebook group is REI Accountability Club, which is a private group. Not everybody get in. It depends on if you like-minded. And we just talk about real estate, and I'll post my videos of me going to my properties, or I'll post like YouTube videos or a video that's related to real estate or personal development. It kind of like help people, let them know that, if I can do it, they can do it too. So, and you also in the group, also follow you on your pages and everything too. So, I want just to be around like-minded people to keep me accountable. And I wanted to show people that I'm just a regular person. I'm not a millionaire or anything. I'm just learning as I go. I'm still consider myself to be a newbie, but Huh?
I said you're on your way. You are on your way.
Fingers crossed.
You gotta manifest it. You gotta know that that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah. You're right. But I like Erica.
I am statements.
I am a millionaire. How about that? I will be a millionaire. So
we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll let you start, and I'll follow your lead since even though we're on my platform tonight, but this is your show, your thing. So please do go ahead and start.
No, I just wanted to know, like, there were people who were sending me my inbox about asking questions about real estate investing. So I said, why don't I just go on Facebook Live and they could just ask all the questions that they want to ask, and then we just go from there. Like I said, I'm still a newbie. I'm not an expert, so I'm learning as I go. If I don't know the questions, I don't know how to answer the question, and I could just ask somebody like you or ask somebody else, who may know how to answer the question, or if I don't know the question, I could just do the research and find out information for them. So that's why I wanted to get on Facebook Live, since I was getting a lot of questions about different things in real estate investing, almost asking the exact same question over and over again. So why not just put it out there where everybody can ask all the questions that they want, and then we all can learn together.
Okay, and then we have another Sarah on here, Miss Wanda, and she was asking the name of your group. So I did put the RE Accountability Group. Hey, Sophia, and
Hey.
so but go ahead and tell us a little bit about your how many properties have you done so far, and then we'll put the questions in here.
3 so far. 3 properties. 3 real estate properties. I did a first flip and I sold that one, and then I'm working on with the second one. I'm supposed to be getting some tenants in there, and now I'm currently working on a third one, which will be a flip. So,
okay,
yeah.
So we have Miss Gibbs here. My question is, what are the number one things that banks are looking for when you're trying to purchase a house? It depends on if you're talking about your primary residence or if you're talking about an investment property. And it also determines where you're getting your funds. If you're getting your funds from a regular retail bank, a private entity, or hard money. So that question is got a wide variety of answers. So if you could, I guess because we're mostly talking about real estate investing now. So do you want to talk about the funding piece, Kristen, as far as what your experiences have been?
Well, for me being a real estate investor, we usually buy property at the off market, or they are fixer uppers. So a lot of times the banks, they do not want to fund houses that need to be fixed. So I usually use a hard money lender for my funding, for purchasing and renovations. I do have some reserves for some closing, or I may use a private lender for the closing fees. But hard money lender or private lender, those are the people that you can use for your funding.
Okay. And they generally want a down payment unless you do a joint venture with somebody that can provide a proof of funds for you. And there's a variety of ways that you can actually merge the deal together and have simultaneous closings to alleviate or offset some of the down payment as well.
Yeah.
And some of the hard money lenders will give you money for not only the purchase of the property, but you can do the renovations as well. And when you talk about private money, it depends on your experience a lot of times as to what percentage they will give you for the renovations. So they may want you to have some skin in the game with the renovations, or they may be confident in your abilities and your background to give you 100% on the 100% on the renovations if you wanted it. Now, the next thing is I watched a real estate video about life insurance being helpful for your business. I was wondering if you know where I can start. Have you heard anything dealing with life insurance and how that can be helpful for real estate?
Is that Robert?
Yes.
Hey, Robert. He asked me that question before. I think he was talking about the video on when one of the investors, Letitia, she was talking about whole life insurance, where you can utilize that to invest in real estate. That's what he's talking about. I haven't had any experience in that, but I'm still trying to learn too, because it was very interesting for me. Like, you can utilize whole life insurance and invest in real estate, and it's like tax-free money. So what do you think about that?
Because usually you can put a cash rider on your insurance policy with whole life, and then whole life gets paid up, and then it starts making enough money to pay the premiums for itself. So whereas whole life insurance, though, the premiums are a lot higher than term life insurance, where you can get $100,000 with the term life insurance for $10, $20 a month. A whole life policy could cost you depending on your health and your age, $200-$300 a month.
Yeah.
So that is the vast difference between the two. So I hope, Robert, that we kind of gave you a little bit of insight on that. And then the next question was, what was your first deal? And Kristen, tell us about your first deal.
Oh, my first deal, when I went to my local REIA, which is the Real Estate Investors Association, sometimes we'll have like wholesalers that will come and present their deals, what they have under contract. And one of the guys, he was JVing with someone about a certain deal that was near it was near an up and coming neighborhood, actually near the USC college stadium here in Columbia. And I mean, they weren't budging. So I was curious. I said, let me go ahead and just drive over there and see, what's going on. And I drove over there like, oh, I think I know why they didn't budge, because it's considered, I guess, the hood, But that don't scare me. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, but a typical investor may have, not be attracted to that neighborhood. But I went ahead and bought it. It was like $25,000 for the house, So I had some reserves. I went ahead and bought the property, and I was able to utilize a business credit card for renovations. This was before I found out that you can do a hard money lender, like utilize OPM, all that other stuff. Like I said, I'm learning as I go, right? Learning as I go.
Right.
But later on, when I found that out, that was it for me. I'm like, ever since then, I'll use OPM all day, every day. Hard money lender, private lender, that's it. So
for the people that might be on here that don't understand what OPM means, tell them what OPM is.
Other people's money.
Yeah, so sometimes, and then you were using the term JV, if you would tell them what that means as well, because when they may not be familiar with the acronyms or the
Oh, I get it. Yeah, I'm sorry. See, I didn't think about that, but yeah, JV is joint venture when you're partnering with someone on a deal. So you don't have to do it by yourself. Depending on the person, you can. Who's more, I guess, more experienced, you can JV with someone on a deal. So.
Okay. So, and I'll tell you about my first deal as an investor. My first deal was when I was 21. I had just graduated from Winthrop, and I was actually still living with my dad, and I didn't buy my first house. I bought my first investment property. And what I did was I used a regular retail bank because I had sufficient income at the time, because I didn't have my debt to income ratio wasn't all out of whack like it is now. But I was able to go through actually Caldwell Banker Mortgage Company, and I was buying the property through Caldwell Banker. And I had saved all of my savings bonds from my grandma for my down payment. Every year for Christmas, my grandma would not buy us a toy or anything. She would give you a pack of socks and a savings bond. Your birthday, you might get a pack of panties and a savings bond. Yeah. So as a child, we didn't value that. But once we got older, we did. And I was able to stack all my savings bonds, and that was my down payment for my first rental. And I actually sold that rental probably 10 years ago.
Oh.
And it wasn't, like you said, it was in the hood. It wasn't in the best of neighborhoods, but I did go ahead and just sell it. But it was fun. I learned a lot from it, and it wasn't a flip. It actually was a rental that I held for almost 10 years before I did sell it.
Mm-hmm. Do you regret selling it? Do you regret selling it?
No, and actually that neighborhood really hasn't appreciated much. Oh, okay. So it's not like now it's a property I sold and it's worth 4 or 5 times the original amount. The values in that area are actually pretty much stagnant. Okay. So at this point, no, because the only thing they would have been doing was bringing in low rent income, and I call them rent chasers, people that you have to keep going after for the rent, and there's a lot of turnover. So no, I didn't regret selling it.
Okay, that's my regret though. My first property, I regret selling it because that the neighborhood was starting to change. Right across the street, it was the USC off-campus apartments. So the neighborhood was in between the USC off-campus apartments and another neighborhood. So I saw the changes coming already, and it was very much undervalued in the neighborhood. It was like $65,000 for ARV, but after I renovated my property, it appraised up to $115,000. So, and I bought it for $20,000.
What ARV means?
I can't think. See, I'm sorry about that, y'all. ARV is after repair value. Okay, it's the average of the comps in the neighborhood. And comps is comparable. It's like how much the rest of the houses in the neighborhood, may be, like how much they sold and everything, like how much you're probably worth by the time you finish, buying the property or whatever, renovate the property. So, and
that's what the appraiser will compare it to when they're doing the appraisal on recent sales in the neighborhood, and they are comparables. But sometimes when we talk in that real estate lingo, we get kind of caught up. So that's why I just kind of wanted, because we may have people on that their background isn't as fluid as yours. So that's why I want to make sure that everybody's understanding and with us at this point.
You know what? It's so funny about this, because that's how I am when I'm watching, sometime when I watch Bigger Pockets, and they'll talk about the cash on cash return and the DTI, which is debt to income ratio. Like, I have to actually write this stuff down because I don't know it by heart, so I understand. So
remember to drop your questions in the comments. We're here to answer your questions. And then Kristen, do you want to ask me some questions?
Yes. Now, you are a broker and you an investor, right?
Yes, I'm a broker in charge of my own firm, Erica Homes LLC, and I'm also an investor.
Okay. How and where are you able to balance everything out? How you balance?
Delegation. No man is an island. I have really good staff, really good assistants that work with me on all my deals. I couldn't be in real estate if I did not have my tribe, my support, my administrative staff. I wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, very good. So that is critical. A lot of people don't want to pay people's salaries, but when you got the right people in place, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, true. Do you have a lot of I guess doors, like, if you don't mind me asking, like, would you be able to ask, or you don't want to ask, you want to answer the question?
About 100.
What? Wow.
We're right close to that number.
That's crazy.
In-house that
This is why you and Michael Jordan are real estate investing. Oh my God. I would love to have 100 doors.
We buy a property almost every week.
Wow. Go ahead. Where do you go to buy your properties?
A lot of times people bringing them to us.
Oh, okay.
We don't do, we do some skip tracing on vacant properties, but because I've been doing it for a while, people bring me deals all the time.
That's what I want. Y'all bring me some deals too. I want somebody to bring me some deals too now. Shoot.
So I had kind of got away from the investing side, and I was trying to grow my brokerage, but I've come into another point in my life now where I only want to do certain things. So I have gone back to getting more aggressive with my investments rather than chasing money deal after deal.
Okay.
We got another question here from our Sarah Kish, my sister from another mother. My friend, my Sarah, my go-to person, everything, education. So she says, how do you distinguish a good hard money lender from a bad one? What is a typical time frame to repay the loan? Also, what are some ways to find OPM sources? So she got 3 questions in one.
Come on now, Sarah. Okay, the first question. I said the first question, how do you distinguish a good hard money lender?
From a bad one.
Okay. Honestly though, I know now that I could just ask my local real estate investors members, like just ask them who do they recommend, and usually they'll know who to refer. So either I'll go to them or I would search for my own. I know Lima One Capital is a really good one from my understanding, and Carolina Hard Money, which is in Rock Hill, they're good too. I utilize them a lot. And Bakers and Collins in Atlanta, Georgia. So, I mean, you just got to ask the local investors who do they use. And, I mean, they'll let you know which one's good, which one's bad. I don't know any bad ones yet. Like I said, I'm new to this. I just know the ones that a lot of the local investors recommend to me. So,
as long as you understand the terms of the loan that you're getting, and how you plan to maneuver that property, and always have an exit plan in case things don't go the way you expect them to. So it's always good to have an exit plan and understand the type of loan that you're getting yourself into, and know how much it's going to cost you, prepayment penalty if there are any, how many points they're charging on the front end to do the loan, when is the loan going to be due. Those are the kinds of questions you want to know up front before you get into the deal, to know exactly what if it's a good deal for that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad hard money lender, but it could be that it was a bad finance deal for that particular deal. So you got to go deal by deal and find out what your plays are. And a lot of people don't have a strategy or a plan, and that is more critical to your failure than the actual lender. So that's what I see a lot of times when we've had to buy properties from an investor that, an investor that was on their way out.
Yeah.
And they did not have a plan. They didn't have any foresight. So that's where a lot of the issues came in. Yeah. Hey, Eureka. So I think that having a solid plan, knowing your next move, knowing and always allow yourself more time than needed. Because especially when you're new, because there's a lot of things that could happen, such as you could run into an issue. You could run into an issue with labor. You could run into an issue where you pulled out a wall and now you got another problem. And there's just a lot of, you got to leave yourself some room for errors, mistakes, or extra problems.
Yeah.
And that's where I see a lot of people failing at is that they don't leave room for that, and they are such on a tight budget. And I would recommend, I mean, every deal is not for you to take, or you have to maneuver the deal that way. And you always want to keep your profits fat and don't don't go into a deal with a skinny profit margin, because that's, you don't give yourself any wiggle room for error.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, or did you want to ask something else, Krista?
There was another question she asked too. It was like 3 questions in one.
Okay. What are some ways to find OPM sources?
Okay. Well, when I said join your local RIA, which is the Real Estate Investors Association, a lot of times they know people who knows other people who have money. I'm in a private Facebook group of my local RIA, and whenever you have a deal and you post a deal, a lot of hard money lenders or people who may have money may say, oh, they can fund a deal for you. So I would say join your local RIA, so you can get to know the people. And then if they have like a Facebook group, then join the Facebook group, and then whenever you have a deal, post it, and there'll be time that people will go ahead and fund your deal, as long as they get their money back with some interest, of course. I do 10% interest when I do private lenders, so.
Okay. And then another thing, once you start your Google search, then you'll start getting what they call retargeted. So you'll see these hard money lenders popping up on your email, your Facebook news feed, and they'll start emailing you. They'll even send you postcards in the mail, because they are tracking people that are what they call absentee owners. So they are tracking, and they're tracking some of the tax records. Deed transfers in the area as well. So they have a lot of things. So once you start Googling it, they'll start targeting you, and then you got to start making a decision as to who can actually get deals done. Sometimes you may have to test, a new lender or a new person to see how they work, and then continuously to search for different financing. And depending on the deal, I always tell people, don't rule out a credit card.
Yeah.
If you really need to make it happen, and you need to make it happen fast.
Yeah, that's what helped me for my renovation, my first flip, a Bank of America business credit card. If it weren't for that, I think I would have been in trouble. But I was able to get my money back and then get everything back that I put in, and I got a profit. So, yeah.
And then I tell people that about bad debt versus good debt. And I'm just giving a hypothetical situation where the interest rate might be, hey, Keela, where a interest rate might be 28%, but how long are you paying on that 28% that's going to bring you from 5,000 to 30,000 in profit? So to pay 28% on $10,000 for $200 a month for 6 months, $1,200, you got to count the cost, not the interest rate.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people get hung up and mixed up about, is trying to calculate the interest. You can't worry about, you worry about it, but at the same time, you got to see what your return is going to be. Yeah. And if you got fat profit margins, then you buffed in that 28% interest that you're only going to be paying for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a long-term deal that you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, and then you can't listen to other people. I see people, don't get in debt. Don't get in debt.
Yeah.
It's a difference between good debt and bad debt.
Yeah. I had to unlearn a lot of stuff.
Huh?
I had to unlearn a lot of stuff. Unlearn a lot of things. Like, I was told to stay away from debt if possible. I didn't know there was a difference between a bad debt and good debt. I didn't know. until now. I'm in my late 30s, and now I'm learning a lot of the stuff that I was not taught, especially in school and everything. So, I mean, a lot we didn't know, you know? You don't
Right.
know what you don't know. So,
and it's also a matter of who you listening to too, because I seen people during the pandemic, they were following a big guru who told them get rid of all their credit cards, get out of debt, and they was posting videos and things of I canceled $100,000 worth of debt during the pandemic, but then now are you broke? You know?
Yeah, you broke. Yeah.
Right. Or did you have $100,000, and if you had waited to cancel that debt and put it into some investments, now you got $200,000. You can cancel that debt, and you still $100,000 to the good.
Exactly, and that's the thing. When it comes to Dave Ramsey, like I like Dave, but when it comes to like investing, it's like the total opposite. I noticed, like he wants you to be 100% debt free. But then after you're 100% debt free, you're still back to square one. You're not wealthy, you know? So what I've learned from the budgetista, I think her name is Tiffany Budgetista, is that you are trying to accumulate wealth first and allow the assets to pay for your liability. So that way you'll become debt free, but you'll be wealthy too. So
and then he had to file bankruptcy how many times?
Exactly.
So, and then he's getting subscriptions from you to pay his bills. Well, I saw where he's selling his $15 million mansion. But and I'm not saying anything, and I wasn't calling his name, but I was referring to him when we were talking about it. And I mean, right now, you can't live without a credit card. I mean, the rewards points from just buying gas and your basic necessities, if you got a good rewards points credit card, you can be on free vacations.
Yeah.
And if you already struggling to make ends meet, how can you go on a vacation and try to peel out $2,000 and pay for your groceries if you don't have a credit card? I use all my rewards points. I charge everything on my credit card. But when you're struggling to pay it, that's one thing. But if I put it on my credit card and I pay it off, I've got those points.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to Hawaii for $86. So, I
mean, that's the thing. That's another thing too. We gotta learn how to leverage credit, leverage debt, because, like I said, we don't know what we don't know. So I'm learning it too.
Right. Okay. And then we've got a question here from Wanda on the LLC before you started. Did you set up an LLC before you started?
No. I started first, and then later on, I created an LLC.
Man, and Wanda, you might sorrow and everything, but people are driving me crazy about this LLC. I don't know. I posted about it this morning, but everybody wants to have an LLC, and it's really, there are other entities that you can form besides a LLC. A LLC, yeah, is good. Limited liability corporation for the liability, but then you've got trust.
Yeah.
And people don't think about trust, and a lot of people put their stuff into trust. That is a different type of entity. Depending on how much you bring it into your business, you might want to look at an S corporation or a C corp, because of the tax implications that are involved. So I want us as a people to get out of the mindset of being stuck on just the LLC. Look at the different entities, and the way you decide on your different entities is you get with a good accountant, and they will help you with making this decision on what type of entity you need to form.
Yeah.
Because you need to know if something were to happen to you, what's going to happen. Well, if you have a trust and your stuff is in a trust, then if you pass away, that trust is like you speaking from the grave, and it bypasses probate.
Yeah.
So that's another entity to think about when you, especially when you're dealing with real estate. A lot of people form, and there's different types of trust that you can have, but don't feel like you limit it to the LLC. And some people form a LLC for every property. I know a couple of people that if it's 123 Main Street, they're going to form a corporation, 123 Main Street LLC. Different people have different reasons for doing things, but you want to know why you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, go ahead.
What type of trust that you probably would want? An irrevocable trust or a revocable trust?
I have an irrevocable trust.
Irrevocable trust? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the one I'm trying to figure out too for myself. Okay, irrevocable trust. I mean, why would you want that versus the revocable one?
Well, actually, because we had one already set up as my family trust. And so we just went with that because that was what, and you can use an attorney to advise you on that part.
Okay. I'm in the process right now, so okay, I'll do that. See, that's why it's good to have people who are a lot smarter than you, because you know.
That don't mean I'm smarter than you. That might be I know a little bit about something that you don't know about, but then you might have to help me over here.
You're way smarter than me, so I'm like, let me add Erica.
What's his name said too many, and then Jessie, she said Budgetnista is awesome.
She is, yeah, she is.
Yeah. So, and then we got another comment here. Oh, amen. Yeah. So, I just want people to think about when you think about business, you don't always have to think in the terms of LLC. And today, my post this morning, I posted different entities to show people that when you fill out a W-9, it doesn't just ask you about an LLC. People can have limited liability partnerships. It depends on if you got your business relationship with somebody else. How do you want your assets, what your operating agreement, stuff like that is going to entail. You may want to, because of the amount of income, you may want to consider just being a sole proprietor. You need to understand the different reasoning for the different entities and figure out what best suits your situation.
Yeah. See what question.
So did you have any questions on your end, Kristen, that people were asking, or?
Let me check because I didn't see them. Let me see. Y'all have any questions for me?
Do a trust info session class. Jesse's asking me. Jesse, you know what? There was, and he's no longer practicing, but I'm gonna see if I can get in touch with him and maybe I can do an interview with him, because he was in Charlotte and he would be at a lot of the investor meetings, and he specialized in all kind of trust. So I'll look and see if I can see him and maybe get in touch with him. I just don't feel comfortable enough to do a session independently by myself, but that is a very good idea. And I'm going to see, because he actually wrote a book, and I'm going to look for his book as well. But he did a lot of trust, and that was his specialty in the Charlotte market. Oh, Eureka said that she can send info about it. And Eureka, what I'll do is I can send the information over to Kristen as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Did you have some people on your end, Kristen?
No, they're just looking, they're watching.
Well, that's good. Sometimes, and then no question is a stupid question, because sometimes it may be the question that somebody else wants to know the answer to, but they're too scared to ask it. So when Eureka sends me the information, I'll share it. And then Jesse, I'll share it with you as well. And we can share it in your group.
Okay.
When she sends me the information. And see, you got people that come in and no man is an island, and we got to work together and, to achieve the common goal. And that's for everybody to build wealth, be successful, and live their best life ever.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, so let me ask you a question too. Because I'm a student to this. I'm absorbing the knowledge. What are your thoughts about when people talk about gentrification, and they're like yelling and they're mad because other people who are outside of the community coming in and gentrifying the neighborhood, but then the neighborhood was like this for a whole 10 years, and you had plenty of time to come on in and fix up the neighborhood and keep it within the neighborhood. But now you have outside people coming on in, but then you're yelling gentrification. What are your thoughts about that?
It depends on, if you're not getting a piece of the pie, those are the people that are probably bad. But a lot of times in gentrification things, the sellers, they sell because the money that they're getting now for their property sometimes change their life. Mm-hmm. I've had like a family member in DC with the height of the market before the 2008 crash. They got over $1 million for a property they owed nothing on. And they converted their house to condos. Yes, the developer made money, but they also made money, and they took their money and ran and was able to reinvest it to leverage themselves. So I think that a lot of times when you hear people griping and complaining, they don't have their hand in the cookie jar, and they're not getting a piece of the pie. So, what we don't know, what we fear, is also kind of mind blocking as well. Mm-hmm. So you got to, what they say, in difficulty lies opportunity. So you got to go and find your opportunity in these situations and find out where you're going to get your piece of the pie, rather than griping and complaining and talking about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing that gets me. Like I said, I love my people. I really do. But a lot of times we complain about stuff, but there's no action plan behind the complaint. And one thing I do know, when it comes to racial wealth gap, in order to make sure we have an equal playing field, we have to learn real estate investing in order to create economic power. So that's one of the other reasons why I became a real estate investor. So I can have economic power. I can have an economic structure for my family and be able to close the racial wealth gap, so we can have an equal playing field. So when I hear people, who complain about certain things, and they'll take a problem and they'll pin it on a leader to tell them, okay, you handle it. You be the one that take care of this, and we just go ahead and complain. That's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to come up with a plan too for your family. So that's my frustration at times, because I'm like, we're talking about closing the racial wealth gap, but no one's wanting to know anything about real estate investing. I'm like, this is how you learn to close that racial wealth gap right there, real estate investing. But it's whatever.
The loudest people are in the cheapest seats.
The loudest people are in the cheapest seat. Yep.
So you can't work and save enough money to do what you need to do. You got to use money to make money. And and then that's why it's much easier to get a student loan than it is to get a business loan.
Hello.
You can, I mean, you can get $300,000 worth of student loans to make $30,000 a year, or be in the unemployment line. But if you go in and say you want a business loan, they're not going to give it to you.
Yep.
So you gotta, and those Dave, and because you brought up the name Dave Ramsey, I'm just not a fan of how he's teaching people to do this, and how to, build wealth. I mean, being debt free is not it. But having accumulated bad debt and you're struggling to pay for that debt, that's totally different than good debt.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, back to the credit card, I mean, how many people could use a free vacation? I mean, off of just money that you're spending every day. But they don't have a credit card because he's telling you not to spend on a credit card because they're going to make $10 in interest off of you, when you could have 10,000 rewards points that's going to fly you across the country for that $10 if it comes down to it. Jesse said, scared money don't make no money. That is the truth.
That's the truth.
Everything involves a risk, and the amount of risk you take, and then you hope that your gains outweigh your losses. And I posted the other day that people, they first sign a loss or defeat, they give up. But you got to keep going and keep breaking through to the next level. And that's what's going to keep you and sustain you to go and be in a better economic situation, because I mean, it even shortens your life when you're not in a better economic situation, because are you going to have money for your medicine? How many people do you hear don't have money to get their prescription? So money may not be everything, but it's up there with air.
It is. It is. Yeah.
So you got to look at things and learn to look at things from multiple perspectives and not with tunnel vision. And I think when you talked about gentrification, those people are looking at it with tunnel vision. And are they in the game? Do they really understand, or are they on the sidelines just shouting stuff that they heard and what's not right?
Yeah.
So, did you want to ask me anything else, or?
Let's see. Have you ever thought about being a private lender?
You know what? We do some owner finance deals.
Oh.
And we got a program called Fuck Your Credit.
That's funny.
So if it's the right deal and it presents itself, and it depends on and we do I don't know if you know, Kristen, but I own a finance company, and so we do small loans to it's just a various range of consumer loans.
Okay.
That's what it is. And so we do.
Okay.
Depending on the deal, where the numbers are, just like with any other lender that you're going to deal with, they're going to be looking at the numbers. If the numbers make sense, do the deal. If not, we don't do the deal.
Okay. 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 Writing this down too. So that's all I wanted to say.
And if anybody's here that wants to drop any questions, we still got some people on here too. But what were you saying, Kristen?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know, because I know a lot of people kept asking me a lot of questions. I'm like, let me just go ahead and get on Facebook Live, and they can just ask all the questions they want to ask.
What program is what, Jesse? Oh, the Fuck Your Credit. I think Yeah, we don't do a credit check on that. And it's really worked out. And we've got, and really, we've helped some people get them a property. And, you know, they've had some challenges in the past. And then now this program is working really well for them because a lot of people just don't have, either they've been burnt by credit repair people or they don't have the tenacity to finish credit repair. But if the situation presents itself, they do well with the programs that we have.
Okay.
And sometimes with people, what I've had on one of our more recent deals was the people, they had a friend trying to sell them a house, but they didn't have the money to do the deal. So we did the deal because they brought us the deal, and they were able to get the house. And it was a win situation for all parties because they had some down payment money that they could, you know, pay up front. And then we did an installment agreement on the property. And now they are on a 13-year finance, which is less than 30 years, which is a really good deal for them. We making money off of the deal plus the interest. So it's working for all parties.
That's good. Do you do creative financing? Do you also do creative financing, like subject tos and owner financing and lease options and all that other advanced real estate?
Yeah, it just because, and you've got to learn these different things because, like I said, when it comes to like, even when we were talking about the hard money lender, which deal you gonna do, how you gonna strategy. You got to have strategy. Everything is about strategy. So the more tools you have in your tool belt to understand what can be done and how it can be done to get the deal done and to make it as profitable as possible for you, then you got to have all those things that you know about so you can maneuver the deal. Because one deal might not be a fix and flip. It might be a whole deal, but if your strategy is long term, it can be a wonderful deal for you in 5 years, whereas your profit margin on coming up to that point may be paying for itself, and then you got your 5-year bang where you're gonna really see your money. So, like I said, it's all about strategy, and you can't go into it, well, I'm gonna make 30,000. I'm gonna, you know, every property I get, I'm only looking for flips. Because if you only looking for flips and you pass up those deals that could be rentals and then they could be flips later on, then you out here chasing a deal every day. So if you're able to diversify your portfolio, you're not out here chasing a deal every day looking for your next flip. So you want to, once it's diversified, you got XYZ coming in every month to cover your overhead when you open your eyes on the first of the month. You're not out here, the pandemic hit, you're not as badly strapped as you would be if you got to chase deal after deal after deal after deal.
Okay.
And then what's the name said, fuck these medical bills is what I need. But on medical, they'll take a large percentage off because they know other people have that mentality too.
Exactly. Okay. Anything else? Did they say anything else? Any more questions?
I don't see any more now, Kristen.
Okay. Thank you, Erica.
Do you have any on yours?
No.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being so patient and all the different that we had.
Thank you. I appreciate you for sharing your platform.